What's up, guys? Coach Ben here. This is going to be Wednesday, January 13th, right?
Yeah, calling out the dates.
I just want to make sure people know. We are recording this episode a little bit late, but it should be out soon. I'm here with Jim. Jim, what's up?
Yeah, and we're going to call out people, too, because it's a very tricky times in our history right now. And the people we're going to call out are the people that show up late to Jiu-Jitsu class so they can just spar and they don't have to drill. And which brings up the discussion of the value of drilling versus sparring. And as we were talking about this, you mentioned that there's actually been some studies or research, or someone's looked into it.
Specifically to specifically to jiu-jitsu, but there's definitely been studies out, research on how to properly drill for motor learning. The topic is motor learning. It's basically, like say if you move your limbs and how your neurological system learns the moves, that's motor learning, And so, yeah, what is our question today, Jim?
So, is it more important in your training to drill more, spar more, or do one or the other exclusively? How can we get the most value from the time spent on the mat?
Okay. I got you. So people probably hate me for this type of answer, but it's never cut and dry, right? It depends on a lot of things, right? What are you looking to accomplish? Where is your current skill level? And, what training do you have access to now is also a part of the equation.
Man, great point.
So I would say this. Drilling is more important, in my opinion, for beginners and people that, maybe don't have the greatest athleticism, how to put this, or movement, right? If you're a pretty clunky mover, drilling will kind of ingrain the movement and it'll create a connection, and then you will then be able to move on to the next step, which is to hit it against a resisting partner. So I will first say that drilling has a lot of value for initial learning, right? So most jiu-jitsu classes, you do a warm-up, you learn a few techniques, and then that we'll call that part of the drilling.
Yeah, sprinkle in the drilling.
Because there's different kinds of drilling, right? So that's way of learning is to learn something that you don't know, right? Like say, in my classes right now, we're going over the De La Riva guard that kind of like Leandro Lowe plays, right? So I can't just say, okay, guys, start from this position and let's go live and let's start sparring. People don't even know what grips to hold. It's kind of a complicated guard if you're just starting out, right? So you have to learn the move. You have to learn to move that way, right? But as you get more and more advanced, I'll tell you, as a black belt, and you probably would agree with this, Jim, we rarely kind of learn, in that manner anymore, right? Go to a class, we sit through the 3 or 4 techniques, like how Rodrigo used to teach us when we were blue belts and white belts, right? Because as a black belt, you learn a little different, right? Like if I am ever shown a move in that sequence, like you show me a move, I look at it, I try it, it's usually like after class from a friend. Usually we're brainstorming.
That's
like,
where the gems are. Yeah.
It's like after training. John Danaher talks about this a lot. Is the after class like camaraderie and the brainstorming session. I think that's very important too, and I agree. And so that's it's hard to say that's what you want to do, because a lot of people that listen, they don't own their own gym. They're not black belts. They maybe just started training. They just they have to go to class, and you just go to class, and the class is structured how it is, and then you do it, right? So taking it back to drilling versus sparring, so we just kind of compare the two. As you get more advanced, you will probably gravitate more toward specific training, which is a form of drilling, versus drilling like dead drilling. Right, and I think there's very little value in dead drilling, as in you just kind of, you're just there,
like maybe on a dummy or like a
similar
grappling dummy.
Well, not it doesn't have to be a dummy, but it could be a dummy.
Okay,
like you could just like say we're doing knee cut, I'm just going to enter the knee cut. You're going to just stay there, and I just do it like 100 times, right? That has value for beginners because there's certain physical traits that you even have to develop, right?
Body mechanics,
exactly. Right? It's also, mobility. There's certain positions you have to kind of groove into. There's value in that. But as you get more and more advanced, let's say if I show you a move and you can do it right away, right? There are people like that. They're not that rare. There's usually high-level people who have good motor control. Will it be beneficial to just slowly drill? Like, probably not. As soon as you can do the move once, you need to start adding at least specific resistance, And the highest level guys that I know of and talk to, they're big on specific training, like starting from even very specific positions, their favorite guard, starting from there with a specific grip that their opponent has. And that is drilling, but it's more like specific training. Now, let's just say that is kind of like the middle, right? The balance. Sparring, I consider to be like starting from a neutral position, and then like me and you spar on the knees, whatever. We start with shake hands, kaboom, we go, right? That is, I think, you have to spar, right? Most of my skill was from sparring, but also I would say most of my maybe brain dead time was also spent sparring. Like as in, I wasn't thinking. It was just like, all right, let's just see who wins. It's unfocused training a lot of the time, and I'm not saying you can't get good doing that. I think Marcelo Garcia just did that his whole career, right? But the guy was so good. He even talked about this during his live sparring. He was basically drilling on people. Like he was using people as live
resistance,
live drilling, because he was so good and he was so kinesthetically aware that he could do that. He's a high enough level guy. I'm not gonna say anybody can do that. Maybe very few people can do that.
Yeah, those are outliers.
Exactly. So I will say that most academies, I think, do too much sparring, as in they do like 6 rounds of 8 from the standing or the neutral position, and that's great for building, physical attributes, cardio, resilience. I would say, it's pretty good for fun. You do learn. You build a lot of attributes, right? But I don't think that is the best way to develop skill in a progressive way. I think you have to. That's one piece of it. You have to have it all. You have to have, even at a black belt level. I'm not anything special, but I still do like what we described in the beginning. Say. The dead drilling. I still do it from time to time, especially when I'm teaching class and I'm showing people, but it's become a lot less, because I know, like, we do like single X entries, we do like knee cut entries, we do, leg drags, right? Once you know how to do the move, it may actually be detrimental, and this is from the research, it may be actually be detrimental to continuously ingrain technique not against resistance,
right?
Because you learn by, there has to be like kind of like a chaotic environment, right? When you're sparring live, when I go for a leg drag, you don't have the same reaction every time. There's different reactions, and also different people have different reactions. So especially if you're dead drilling with a partner that is going to give you the same reaction every time, you could actually be ingraining bad habits.
Yes.
And I've seen this happen. What usually happens, though, is people who are, not the highest skilled, but okay, white, blue belts, maybe purple belts, they get, I've seen this happen, they get kind of in love with drilling, because initially it makes them a lot better. Initially their movement becomes smoother, everything's good.
They get the greatest gains.
Yeah, they get the grit initially, but then they will hit this plateau usually that it just can't take to the next level, because it's almost like you're ingraining a certain system. And I've seen my students that were very talented, this thing happened to them, is they expect certain reactions. So I'm a person who likes to try different things. So I don't always pass standing, right? So when I see somebody who, for example, has drilled the De La Riva guard a lot, as soon as I hit the knees and I start body locking and I start, doing other things, not only are they freaking out, I can tell by the tension in their body, because they haven't done this live kind of in that specific training way. They've only gone sparring, so it's either 100% or it's or it's, they just, the person's dead.
Yeah, and here's the thing: when you train without the resistance, with the resistance, you create these variables.
Yes.
And then you can, and when you roll with these folks, that it's obvious if I don't resist, you'll nail the move. But 100%. If I just give a little different angle, if I give those variables, if I throw in those variables of either strength, angles, timing, all of a sudden it's just a short circuit, and then you see the freeze happen.
This is also why guard retention is so hard to teach as a system, because you can't systematize it. There's too much chaotic stuff.
Variables, yeah.
So you have to have these these guidelines, right? It's like if imagine if we were driving, if we were out on the street driving, and there was no nothing, no street signs, and there was nothing on the road, right?
Yeah.
You just would.
Well, I use the same. It's funny you say that, and I know how you feel about analogies. I see you on Facebook, but I use the analogy of jiu-jitsu and moves and things. They're like neighborhoods, and if you've only been used to going down a certain path, certain streets all the time, cool, it works. But construction's happening that day, and that street's closed. Yeah. Now you have to find different ways. You have resistance, so now you have to find those little back alleys, those little walkways. Like you gotta get out of your car here, walk to the other side, and then catch the bus, and you'll get there, right?
And here's the very important distinction, I think, Jim, is that what you described is perfect, because it's like a one path, and there's all these other variables that can affect it. The reason why specific training in a position that you have a weakness in or something you want to improve in is important is because you get multiple reps in a position that you need to improve, and it's quick. Like let's say we start. Let's say I have a weakness in my reverse De La Riva position, right? So instead of starting an open guard where you could do anything you want, and maybe I don't even get a chance to practice in a 5-minute roll, maybe you pass my guard right away or something. We just start in the reverse De La Riva, right? I get my grips. I tell you, okay, I want you to do whatever you would do here. Try to trick me. Do some stuff. And I would, use the position. Let's say I get past. Then we restart. Okay. Then I get another chance, right? So can you imagine just how many chances to practice that position I'm going to get? And this is, you can see this in sports that are a little more evolved. They have a lot more money. They have a lot more research
and resources. Yeah,
you don't see basketball players, before a game or even in practice. They do play, scrimmages, right? But a lot of the time, it is specific drill. At least from what I remember in high school, it is a lot of specific drilling, like a scenario. Okay, especially I should use football. I played football longer. Football, we would never get the first team defense taking on the first team offense, every day for a full football game, every day for the practices, right? That's just not realistic. It's crazy. In fact, you would probably damage yourself, and you're not going to learn anything new. It's just headbutting all day, right? Versus what we would do in practice is we would start with scenarios, right? Like a scenario is, look, the offense is trying to do a specific play, and we're going to run it this many times and see all the different things that can happen. And then, we'll do a scenario like a 2-minute drill. Okay. The quarterback is 2 minutes to score. That's a specific drill. It's the same as we start on the back, right? You start on the back, right? How many chances now do you have to choke me? A lot. And you may never get to my back, but now you're already on my back, and you have all these chances. And for me, it would help me develop my defense, right? If nobody's ever on my back, then my back defense for sure sucks, and then you're already on my back. So I have to now escape, right? How many chances do I get, right? So this is the importance of, I think, specific sparring or specific training. And it has to be live.
So let's be a little less ambiguous about how we address this, and let's Coach, I'm about to hire you right now for 1 week. We got 1 week contract. No, I'm sorry, we have a 1 month contract. Okay. But we could structure the week, and then we can play with the variables. How do I approach training for 1 week? Like, schedule me my drill time, schedule me my spar time, maybe assessment time, and then how should we adjust accordingly moving forward?
a lot of this is how much you have control over. You know, if you don't have any control
in a
over,
perfect environment, let's say that the academies are open and everything.
I would have to know exactly what your goal is. You know,
Okay.
if are you trying to be a professional? Because you're trying to be a professional, we split all of these up. You know, but if you, I would assume we're not talking to like, you know,
I want to win.
champions.
I want to win the South Bay Jiu-Jitsu.
You're a full time. You know, you have a full time job, but you train
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu. This
yeah.
is probably most of our audience. Okay, so let's say you can get into the gym 4 days a week, right? Let's just say that's a average number, right? 4 days a week, pretty decent for a hobbyist, right? You probably are not going to be able to control the class unless you own the academy or something. You probably won't be able to, you know, brainstorm after class for another 2 hours. You know, maybe there's open mat, but we got COVID.
Well, yeah, I want to. I want to contract. I want to contract you at your academy, so you have the access as my coach, and you just. How are we going to structure
You're coming
this?
4 days a week. You probably don't have control of the class. You're going to just do the class how it is, right? But when you start sparring, hopefully people have this ability in their academy. You just, you know, if the instructor says, "Hey, we're going to start 6-minute rounds for 8 6-minute rounds," for example, right? Okay, great. You grab your first partner and you say, "Hey, you know, I want to work on something today. Do you mind if we start in side control? You have side control on me. I want to work on my escapes, right? If you escape, you know, you submit me, you pass him out, we restart, right? It's like basically putting in your own specific training. I would definitely implement that into your weak points. That's one way of, I think, the most important drilling, you know, and then it depends on your level, right? If you're a lower level guy, I would say, okay, we got to do these motor learning kind of ingraining protocols where I see that you can't really even enter the knee cut position without some resistance from your own body. I want you to keep doing this until you feel it naturally, so you don't get gassed, right? One of the things, let me pull this back real quick. One of the things that you do gain from repetitive drilling is there is something that you do develop where the body kind of knows what to do. Like it's an expected outcome, so you will probably use less energy, right? This is a little controversial. So let's say if I've done 1,000 knee cut entries, right? When I want to do a knee cut entry on you and we're doing live, more than likely I'm not going to fire all the muscles that are required 100% because it's not a new thing. It's like, ooh, I already know what I'm doing. When you add resistance, it does change a few things, but it just depends, right? So, again, a more beginner person, I would do the sparring in a more specific manner, especially if you're older or something like that. Just specific training. And then after class, I would do the kind of like the dead drilling, just to ingrain a little bit of technique, right? A little bit of just the motor learning there, and then. That's pretty much it. You know, if you're a beginner, I don't think you have that much time. Like that's really all you can do. You know, let's say you have 6 rounds, 4 of the rounds do them specific, 2 of them go, you know, neutral position, right? Facing each other, standing, whatever. If it was a competitor, I mean, you need to break these things up.
Yeah, because you're talking professional level, and then if
Train
you're
3 times a day.
yeah, and then you're looking for different things. You're looking for smaller items. Like, no, we got to make that adjustment. So it's a bit more tailored and personal that way. But I guess on the scenario you just framed is like, okay, I'm just going to general class instead of these privates. And I think the important thing is to kind of highlight what you're saying is to have a purpose,
right,
in your drilling, to have a purpose in your sparring if you choose to spar.
Right. This is not like this is like a groundbreaking, you know, thing here, but you just go to class with a focus, right? I usually don't even have to think about a focus because I'm teaching the class, so it's like I'm focused on what I'm teaching, you know, and then I'm gonna do what I'm. Then I usually try to do what I taught just to, you know, prove a point. It works, but also to. You know, it's the freshest thing in my head. And if I'm teaching it, you know, I think more instructors should start admitting this, is I try to teach only the things that I use because, not just because I know that they work or anything, but I want to actually improve on those things. When I'm teaching my students, you know, this is an honest reflection. I'm not teaching it because I want to show them some fancy, cool shit that, you know, I saw on the internet or something that I don't do. I may show something that I don't do, but it's only for a learning
But you're
experience.
not teaching it.
Yeah, it's
per
more
se,
like
right.
it's more like, hey, you know, this can happen, and let's practice it.
Yeah.
So we need to know how to do it, just because
It's out there.
It's out there. We might get caught, you know, like this move, you know, like the Armin Ezekiel from the closed guard or something. You know, I'm not going to do that probably unless you force me to or whatever. But I teach that move, because if you don't know that exists,
how do you anticipate
how are you
it?
going
How
to
do you defend it?
Exactly.
Right.
So that's pretty much it, man. Train. There's actually one shout out. I want to shout out this article that I remember this article because it came out such a long time. It might even be on Jiu-Jitsu Mag. I don't know. But there's an article called Train Ugly. It's somewhere on the internet. And it might actually be a website. It's called Train Ugly. But it's called Train Ugly. And what the Train Ugly is a metaphor for is it's by a guy named Marshall Carper. I don't know where he went. He had some stuff in the jiu-jitsu community, disappeared.
Yeah, good author. He has a nice book
books,
too. Yeah,
some apps or something. Anyway, he wrote an article on it, and basically he has the research in there, and you know, there's a lot of books on this, you know, motor learning, and what it is Training Ugly is metaphor for when you're training. It shouldn't be like this pretty, nice looking thing that you upload on Instagram and it's like beautiful. You know, it's more than likely it's ugly. It doesn't look good. It's like chaotic. You know, things happen. It's like it's like you know, I'm not gonna call out anybody, but let's just say we see a lot of beautiful jiu-jitsu on Instagram, right?
Right.
Watch the World Championship finals and tell me those beautiful, unrealistic moves actually happen. They don't happen that way, right? Those are show. It's a freaking, you know, it's all, they're trying to advertise, marketing.
It's
I get
highlight,
it.
right?
It's great.
Highlight stuff.
But that's not realistic for the average jiu-jitsu practitioner. You have to, your moves should be, at least when you're training, they should be ugly. They should be chaotic, right? When you go to a knee cut, guy's not going to just, you know, give up the underhook. You know, they're going to fight for it. You know, you're going to dig.
And it's going to look ugly.
It's going to be 100 different things, right? And so, yeah, that's it. Shout out to Marshall Carper. The article he wrote, I think it was on Jiu-Jitsu Mag.
Yeah, it may have been. He used to write for us. Yeah, for sure.
Because I used to have the magazine. I was like, okay, so that is one of the, you know, oldest articles I've seen relating to jiu-jitsu on drilling. But I've studied this in other sports. If you guys want to learn more about it, just look into motor learning. There's a very complicated textbook out there by Gabrielle Wolf. It's the word motor learning is in it. I don't know the whole book name, but that's it. You know, just drilling versus sparring. It depends. It depends.
And and to that, when you say drill ugly, it reminds me of an experience that was very, it's stuck with me all these years. And I want to give a shout out to you, Brett Aldrich, wherever you are. And I think he's in the Reno, Nevada area right now. Adult black belt. This guy's very good. He used to train with us over at Rodrigo's a little bit. Right. But I remember the first time I met him, I just heard, man, the guy's good. The guy's good, right? And this was also a check in my ego too. Nice learning moment. But we drilled for the first time, and man,
what belt were you?
We were both purple, I believe.
What do you mean by first time? Like first time you drilled with him?
Or no, we were maybe brown. He may have been brown. He may have been brown, and I just got my brown.
First time you drilled with him?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And eventually sparred and everything. Yeah. You know, he'd been there, and I heard, new guy, he's good, and he ended up coming to our academy. And I just got my brown, and I was doing well in tournaments. I was competing a lot, and I was feeling myself. So then it's like, all right, cool. So we started drilling, and he did just that. He drilled ugly. Like he was troubleshooting. He was
told you to give more resistance, probably?
No, not at all. No. He treated me like very kind.
So he was doing everything.
Yeah, we were both drilling together. No, with the class.
Okay.
With the class.
No, I just mean like, let's say he's drilling.
With me.
He's troubleshooting, but he's not telling you to do anything specific?
No, not at all. We're just doing the typical, and he's asking questions to the instructor, right?
He felt sloppier. You know?
Yeah, like he wasn't happy. And it's like, and he felt very uncoordinated. He felt ugly. Like, really? This guy's, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's good?
That's the sign of somebody very good.
Oh, Ben, let me tell you, when sparring started, this dude just went through me every which way, and I got introduced to Brett Aldridge.
Yeah, because he basically he's maximizing his time. You know, he's not just drilling. This is why picking a training partner is very important. This is why I try not to have beginners be training partners with each other for drilling, because they give the bad reactions.
Yeah.
Even black belts. You know, there's certain black belts when I'm demonstrating a move, it's like you got to give me some resistance. You know, John Danaher always says, you know, strong body or you know, give me a little pushback. It's important, you know. And if you don't train with somebody that understands that, you could be, you know, doing it worse. That's why you just tell them, fuck it, go live. You know, we go live from this position.
We'll go live.
Yeah, we hit this position we want. Go live.
Right.
You know, and that I think is the most beneficial. And I think people, you know, We'll just end it with this. This is not a knock on anybody. It's just an observation. I know, you know, black belts, older black belts that really have never drilled in their whole life. And what I mean by drilled their whole life is they've only sparred. They've never done specific training for real. They've only done specific training when they're forced to. And these guys have glaring weaknesses.
You can tell.
Man. Like, you pass their guard, they're dead. You know, if they have no semblance of a guard. I'm just making generalization here, but there's a lot of these people,
and the moves are very mechanical. So if they got you with it one time, the next time you throw them a little that variable we're talking about, they don't know how to.
They have a secret technique they'll get you with once, you know, and then it'll never work again. I was one of these people, by the way. You know, I never developed a complete game until I was maybe, you know, at least a first degree black belt, and I still am.
I mean, still developing, right?
Still developing, you know. So
I will. Then we'll close out with this, and it will be the famous Bruce Lee quote of "Do not fear the man that knows 10,000 kicks. Fear the man that knows one kick, but has practiced it 10,000 times." So our ending message is practice those moves 10,000 times, but create variables in which you practice them. Don't just do it 10,000 times. Create those variables. Get to know your neighborhood. Get to know the paths of resistance. And I think we could agree they will be better off for it.
The one kick 10,000 times is actually the same kick, except it's not the same resistance. That's the important part. It's not that I'm kicking something 1,000 times. It's actually worse to kick kick a different way, you know, 1,000 different kicks, because then I'm not even practicing any one particular kick.
You're thinking all the things around that kick.
But it goes farther than that. Yeah. It goes farther than that. You can't just practice one kick 1,000 times. You have to practice that kick with different outcomes 1,000 times. You know, and it's probably more like 1,000,000 times. But you know, that's a great point.
And you mentioned a word, and I want people to comment on this. I'm looking for the knowledge of our audience here, to the English majors. What's the difference between farther and further? Help me out.
I don't know.
Yeah, put in the comments.
I don't know. Farther and further.
Farther and further. F-A-R-F-U-R. But anyways, we don't know. We'll probably figure it out and talk about it off camera. But yeah. So
one last thing, Jim.
Okay.
Shout out to Bet DSI. You know,
please,
our only sponsor. If you want to sign up, JJM is the promo code. I think you get a little bonus. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's some money bonus.
Well, I'll tell you what, people are signing up, and people are in position to make some money on these upcoming events that we're about to create next draw the line.
Yep.
So
doing it right after this.
Tune in for that. And Coach, thank you once again for your insight. Everyone else, thank you for listening to us rant, like, comment, subscribe, all the other stuff that the social
Fight to win this
folks.
Saturday.
That's right. All right, guys. Thank you.